Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Four Continental Podcast. And today, after a few episodes, Singh Park is back with us. And yeah, so let's just dive straight into the first round of Serie 2 game that was played last night. So, what do you think of the game, South Africa versus Canada?
Yeah, right. First thing first, happy to be back. Before, like, I was consistently in every episode, but yeah, for the last few episodes, because of the exams, I couldn't join. But yeah, going to this game, I think that, I think it was a decent watch, in my opinion. Like, I feel like in the first half, Canada had, like, many more chances. I think they were the more dominant team. But at the same time, I think the South Africa defense, like, it was kind of confusing in the sense, like, I feel like some players, there was kind of like, good, and but some players were just kind of like average. So there was number four like Mokena who almost kind of like gave away the ball and almost like costed like South Africa a goal there, and then yeah, and but there was also like Sithole. I mean Sihole, whatever however you call him. He was actually having a decent game. He did like save South Africa as well. So what do you think of the game, moment?
Yeah, it was perhaps a even game, you can say. When both the teams did attack, and like South Africa, it was basically a defending masterclass from them because the way they defended and uh, the saves that their keeper made, Williams, he made a couple of decent saves as well. And apart from the save, their defense was quite solid as well. And then I think the moment the game changed for Canada is when Alfonso Davies came on. You could see the impact he made in this team. Like the moment they came on, all the attacks were coming from his side, and he was, although he was dispossessed a couple of times, he couldn't really complete all of his dribbles, but still he did make a lot of impact on this side. And I mean, it shows when you see someone who's playing in the top leagues, you can see the difference in their gameplay, the passes they produce, the quality that they have. And yeah, it was good to see him after I believe he missed all of the group games. But yeah, it was good to see him finally back for Canada. And I think now that they have him back, they they will definitely be a lot more solid defensively and attackingly as well because he's a type of player who runs uh, attack and defense back and forth. So I think it's a huge plus for them. But talking about this game against South Africa, the goal was eventually coming from Canada. Like our South African defense kept it late, but even the goal that they scored came from a poor clearance, and if the cow just smashed it into the bottom corner, it was a great goal. So yeah, I think it was a perhaps a good game to open the knockout stages with. And yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but in my opinion, I wouldn't exactly call it an even game. I mean, like I've said, I do think the South Africa defense were solid. Like you have said, Williams, he didn't make like few saves, and I think Modiba, he also like saved a shot goal from like a goal line clearance, right? If I remember clearly. Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, like I was saying, the reason why I don't think it was a even game, because in my opinion, like when South Africa were like attacking, it feels like it just wasn't that lethal and it wasn't strong. I mean, like in the whole game, I feel like we couldn't really have seen like how good Canada defense actually was. Because every time South Africa did try to like attack, it just wasn't like that lethal. So yeah, in my opinion, I don't think that South Africa, like I've been seeing comments that for people saying that South Africa deserve to go through. For that, I disagree. But yeah, going into the future, I would be kind of interested to see like how the Canada will play for the next match because I think like then their defense will get like really tested.
Yeah, I mean, I do hear it that Canada weren't really, looking really dangerous in their attacks, but still, I mean, if you look at let's talk about the rankings of both the teams. Canada is number 30th and South Africa is double the number. They are like number 60th in FIFA ranking. So I think facing an opponent that is perhaps stronger than you, and but on the same side, on the other hand, South Africa did beat Korea as well, and Korea is I think they're in the top 20, top 20, 25 teams in the FIFA rankings. So you could expect an upset from them, but yeah, I do hear it that when South Africa came into attack, I think they just slowed it down. Really, they didn't really test the Canadian defense. And they got a breakthrough, but then they just slowed it down and moved the ball around. I think they shouldn't have done that. Maybe took some risks and perhaps tried to score. But yeah, the goal from Canada came in almost a couple of minutes before the final whistle. So yeah, it was perhaps impossible for them to score such early. And yeah, but yeah, that was a good game from Canadian perspective. First ever time to make it to the round of 16. Big, huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like downplaying South Africa achievement in this World Cup. I was just purely talking about the game perspective. I do think Canada were the better team, and just off their performance, they deserve to go through. But yeah, I mean, yeah, going back to it, to summarize like South Africa's run in this World Cup, I feel like obviously the first game we did kind of see like how they were kind of disappointing, but I do think after that they did kind of show their desire to continue fight for it. I mean, in the next game they played, they showed Mayweather desire, and even in this game, like you said, even though attacking wise they weren't that lethal, but at least for defense wise, they were like kind of stepping it up. So in my opinion, overall, I do think this World Cup was a good achievement for them. But yeah, going to this, like you have said, it's kind of surprising to see South Korea being knocked out of the World Cup.
Yeah. So if we talk about all of the the group stages, and like overall, I think it's been quite a few great games. There has been some upsets. Uh, And yeah, I think it's been really interesting. It's World Cup as you would expect. It wasn't really completely one-sided. Like you saw Ecuador, Germany, you saw Cape Verde versus Uruguay versus Spain, and and there were other upsets as well, like South Africa beating South Korea. But since we are talking about South Africa, I think we should mention Czech Republic here. I'm really disappointed from their performances. Uh, I really expected them to do better. Like the first game, they were winning 1-0, and South Korea came back and they won 2-1. The second game, they scored an early goal against South Africa, and then they just went to parking the bus, which allowed South Africa to put pressure on them, and hence the last at the end they eventually got a penalty and they equalized it. And similarly, in the third game, Mexico completely dominated them. So yeah, I think it's been a quite disappointing run from Czech Republic. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously going into this, we did kind of expect Czech Republic to do better than they actually did. Like you have said, I mean, especially the last game I want to mention against Mexico, it was just kind of a disappointing performance. I mean, it was like just like none of the aspect they didn't look good in any of the aspect. I mean, they were just kind of stinking it out. Really, yeah, it was like really disappointing performance for them. And any other teams you're kind of disappointed with?
Uruguay for sure. I mean, look at how they played against Saudi Arabia. They played how they played against Cape Verde, and even Spain. I feel like if they did perhaps kind of well, maybe they could have won the game because Spain wasn't really dominant that game as well. The goal Alex Baena scored, it wasn't really a banger or something. It hit Muslera's hand and it went into the goal. I think that was avoidable as well. Yeah, it's been a quite disappointing tournament for Uruguay as well from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. I mean, as we have said, like going to this World Cup, we did kind of expect Uruguay to have like problems, especially in the attack wise. But I think like finishing that low, I think it was just kind of like unacceptable in the sense like, especially like you have said in the Spain game, I feel like Spain, they were like kind of like sitting it back in my opinion during the match. I feel like because they were already had the advantage, so it was kind of understandable. But yeah, even then, like Uruguay just couldn't produce something. And like I said in the Cape Verde game, like Cape Verde game, like yeah, the attack, like it just really like I've never like if like have to mention a team which like the attack kind of let down most. I mean, a lot of people would obviously say like Turkey, but I would put Uruguay up there as well for being disappointment.
Yeah, and yeah, the third team being disappointing for me was obviously Turkey. They came into this World Cup as one of the dark horses, and the talent that they have in their team, everyone really expected them to maybe top their group, but yeah, it just went completely wrong for them. Uh, uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Obviously, I mean the first two games, the two games that actually mattered for them, it was just kind of unacceptable. I mean, the first game, Australia, we know how it went. The whole game, it was just like Australia scoring off counters, and then they just kind of sat back, and then we just saw like such painful like gameplay, like of like seeing like Turkey just trying to break through the defenses and struggle with it. And after the game, I thought like maybe Australia defense was like really good, like it was like really peak, which I do think it was. But then even in the Paraguay game, it was kind of like witnessing the same thing again. Like even like they managed to make like Paraguay defense look super solid as well. They were kind of struggling against them as well. Again, just like the whole time, it just felt like they had the ball. They were just trying to break through, but it just didn't work. And then when they were eliminated, then they finally stepped it up against USA. But by then it was just too late. And I kind of feel bad for the Turkish fans because they're like the most passionate fans in the like one of the most passionate fans in the world. We see how crazy they go, and to see like the country just perform like that is kind of disappointing for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's been really disappointing, and if you look at the send off they got from their fans, huge expectation from everybody. And if you, I mean, if you look at the Turkish league, they probably have one of the most passionate fans in the whole world. So there will there definitely will be some real you know from their fans, some real disappointment. But yeah, hopefully they can work things out and maybe do a bit better in the upcoming tournaments. And so, what do you think? Like, who's been the surprise package and the dark horses of the group stages so far?
Well, before we actually get to that, I do want to mention like few teams that obviously they did do bad as expected, but I do still feel like they did kind of shock a little bit in the sense. I mean, obviously Curacao, they finished dead last in the group, but I still think it was a huge achievement for them. I mean, obviously in the Germany game, they did kind of keep it up until like the 30 minute. They scored a goal. That was a win already, in my opinion. And yeah, even for the Ecuador game, they managed to hold on for a draw. I mean, they secured a point, bro. I think that was a crazy achievement for them. And then yeah, the last game versus Ivory Coast. I mean, we know like a lot of people have been saying Ivory Coast is the dark horse. They have undeniable talents in the team, like Diomande and all that stuff. So yeah, I just feel like we should not like forget, like let the points or the group like forget like the World Cup campaign they had.
Yeah, for sure. Curaçao, obviously, they had their opening game against Germany, four times world champions. But in that game as well, if the game could, if the game could end at the 15 minutes, 20th minute
Oh
mark,
yeah,
I
they will
think that
win.
would have been, yeah, it
They
would
will
have been
win.
an amazing game. But
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, you would expect Germany from to have to put up a dominant performance as we've seen from them in the past. They don't really show mercy to their opponents. I mean, they did the same to Brazil in their own home country. So yeah, you can't really expect them showing mercy. And yeah,
Yeah, so you want to start off with like the teams you surprisingly found to be quite good in this World Cup?
yeah. I mean, to start off with, obviously it's gonna be the top contender is obviously Cabo Verde. They managed to get a draw against all the three sides in their group. Uh, 99% of the people before the World Cup started had Capo Verde finishing last in their group. But the way they played, held Spain to a draw, held Uruguay to a draw, held Saudi Arabia to a draw. And the Saudi Arabia game was one which I think they could have won. Like, you know, they like towards the end, they had like two or three chances which they could score, which they could have scored. But good save from the Saudi Arabian goalkeeper. And yeah, they're definitely the top one contender for the surprise package in this World Cup.
Yeah, so for me, I think like so far the teams you have seen like kind of progress through. I think like you said, obviously Cape Verde that was like super unexpected, but I think the other teams we kind of look at, I think it was kind of expected. But one team I do think I didn't really expect to perform as good they have is Egypt. Obviously, like we have said, like a lot of their starting players are still like players that play in the Egypt league, and yeah, I feel like in this World Cup they just kind of have shown like you're gonna just have like few star players in your team. I mean, obviously, one of the star players is one of the best players in the world, Salah. But you can show that it can still be enough for like to produce like good performances. I mean, we have obviously seen with the New Zealand game. I think that was a quite good game. Like in the second half, they really like upped their intensity, and even for the Egypt Iran game. And by the way, I do think like Iran, they were kind of unlucky in this World Cup. Really, I do feel like they really should have progressed through, but besides that, I do think Egypt did kind of hold it down well. If I'm not wrong, I think they did almost concede a offside goal, right? But yeah,
Mm.
it was offside. So yeah, I think it was a surprising performances from them, at least according to me. What do you think?
Yeah, speaking of Egypt, yeah, the way they played against Belgium, and I mean, you would expect them to do better against the NZ New Zealand, but against Belgium, they played well. They held off the players, and even the goal they conceded. I mean, the player who defended like perhaps the best for them all the game, and he was the unfortunate player who basically scored an own goal. Although it was obviously his intention to clear the ball, but the positioning of his foot was such that the ball basically went inside his own goal. I think it was quite unfortunate for him, despite defending so well in the whole game. And speaking of Iran, I personally believe they're the perhaps second best team in Asia after Japan, and I was expecting them to like do well in this World Cup. And yeah, they've been extremely unfortunate. They had like two very crucial disallowed goals, and both of them quite controversial and very close. If you look at him, the first one being the one against Belgium, Mahdi Tarimi scored from the free kick, and then secondly it was against Egypt. I think it was basically the very last minute of the game in which they scored, but once again a very slight, yeah, inches away from making it onside. So yeah, some really tight decisions and perhaps controversial as well. But once again, they could still qualify in the third place teams, but they had three games where whose whose result if they favored they could have gone through, but all the three games didn't went like how they would expect. Like if we talk about the Austria Algeria game, Austria Algeria scored the third goal, made it 3-2. I think it the 90 plus 2 minutes. The added time was given point
Yeah, that was
five
that was very
minutes.
late.
Yeah, Riyad Mahrez scored the goal, and then suddenly after kickoff, It felt like or Algeria wasn't even trying to defend. It was like Austria scored the equalizer so quickly, and yeah, it was like it was a crazy game to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, like you have mentioned about the Asian teams and stuff. I mean, I've just seen a stat. I mean, like only two of the Asian teams progress forward. We just kind of stinking it out, man, for real. But
Yeah,
and it was even crazier to think about that. I remember for a period of time, all the Asian teams were unbeaten at the World Cup. I mean, it was literally just for like I don't know how long it was for, but I do remember keep seeing this stat for this World Cup. But yeah, that ended quick, bro.
yeah. I think that set was basically valid for like the opening games of the groups. Since Korea won it as well, I think Japan drew against Sweden. Japan drew against Holland, and yeah, other teams drew or either won as well. I think that was only uh, for the first games of the groups, but yeah, things went south for the Asian teams real quick.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like the one team that was really kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say they were super disappointing because I do think there was a lot of pressure for them. But yeah, I mean, Uzbekistan, bro, I think they finished the group with literally 0 points, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, obviously, still like a huge achievement to them. I mean, I still think, stand by that, they are one of the fastest growing Asian teams. Like the progress they made in the last few years is already crazy enough. But yeah, I think going into this group, we did kind of expect them to like pick up 1 point at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the group that they were in, also how Colombia has played all of the games so far. Portugal has been disappointing, but against Uzbekistan, obviously they could not contain their players. And then lastly, the game against DR Congo. Uzbekistan were like quick to attack in the opening games. I think they scored a goal which was ruled offside. Then they scored the opener, but then Congo, Antoine Visa, as you would expect him, stepped up for his nation. Husanov, under immense pressure, but he gave away a penalty. It was quite an obvious one because he quite literally kicked the player instead of the ball. And yeah, and really things just went wrong for them in the second half. But yeah, as you mentioned, they're one of the fastest growing, um, you know, teams in Asia. Like if you go back a few years, I don't really think you would even expect them to qualify for the World Cup. But the way they spread things up, I think yeah, it's yeah, good for them. And similarly, as for Uzbekistan, there was a team in Africa, Tunisia, who's like, if you look at their qualifiers, I think they conceded 0 goals in all of their qualifiers. So everyone had an like image of them being like defensively solid, but starting from the opening game, they literally conceded five. Yeah, and the hopes went dead really quickly.
I mean, at least, listen. Tunisia, I think it was a disaster class. Obviously, looking at it, like the first game, like you have said, they literally lost 5-1. But at least Netherlands paid back to them, right? They helped them
Yeah.
back. But yeah, going to this, especially considering their pre-qualifiers run, we definitely expected them to do better. But it feel like even by changing the manager, it didn't kind of change anything. This just kind of shows that sometimes maybe the players are just not up to standard, or there's just not like enough chemistry in the team. I mean, obviously, you bring in a new manager literally at the World Cup, you cannot expect him to like instantly produce magic, right? So I wouldn't even exactly like give the new manager much hate. And yeah, go with the Japan game. It was just like completely embarrassing for them. They got dominated. Again, they were just relying on the same strat of like relying on honeyball crosses and stuff. And yeah, for the Netherlands game, again, it was just kind of embarrassing from them. But hey, at least they scored 1 goal.
Yeah, I mean the new manager that came for them obviously literally had just 2 games to prove himself, and that too against Japan and Holland. Both the teams. being the dark horses of the tournament. And yeah, the South American side, Ecuador, who beat who beat the Germans in their last game. There was a lot of hate going around them. Obviously, they have such good players. Their defense, uh, I mean, people don't realize it, but I'm gonna say it's one of the most solid defenses that they have. They have Joel Ordons, they have William Pacho, they have Hincapi and Stupinan, Caicedo. All of these players that they have, there's a lot of faith around their manager, Bekechiche. They drew against Curaçao. They lost Capo, Ivory Coast, but then in the Germany game, they really showed that the quality they have. And I personally think that the opener that was scored by the Germans should not have been stood, because it was basically a foul, the high boot to the defender's head. But still, Ecuador managed to turn it around and make it to the next stage.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going through this, we have say like even though Germany were kind of looking sharp, there's no doubt that their defense did like look very shaky at times, and I feel like this game really kind of proved it. I mean, it was kind of crazy. Like Namacha, he kind of made a mistake, I think, in this game, but beforehand he was like, I think he was playing quite good for Germany as well. But yeah, like we have said, I mean, I think the defense was probably one of the standout parts for the Ecuador. I think people just kind of started forgetting how good their defense was after the Ivory Coast game, because when you saw like in Cape like being like cooked by Diomande and stuff. But even then, I think in that game he was like showing his versatility in the first half at least. Like he was like doing the left back position, but also like covering the attacking midfield position at the same like at the different times as well. So I and also the midfield wasn't like the worst thing. Like we have said, the only like holding the main part of holding Ecuador back was their attack, really, in my opinion. And I'm kind of interested to see how going forward, like how will they continue to play, and will the attack really affect them that much?
Yeah, for sure. Overall, the game has been really interesting. I liked it quite much. I haven't really, just say any game really disappointing. Like if we speak about Iraq here, obviously they've also been disappointing. But I mean, if you look at their group, obviously they had Norway, France, and Senegal. You would expect them to lose, but I was certainly expecting them to, at least score some goals and make it a bit tough for their opponents. But yeah, but I don't know if you noticed this, uh, but the Iraqi team, especially in the first half of the game, they were like comparatively better than in the second half. Like they usually
Bro,
came under pressure.
That was
Yeah,
the literal thing I was going to say. Like, to summarize the Iraq team, I feel like this is the team. If you look at the score line, you would completely like, oh, this team was trash. I mean, they got like battered every game. But I feel like this didn't really cover the full picture, especially in the Iraq. Like, obviously, I think the first two games for them, like the Norway and the France game, like for the Norway game, obviously, we have said it then. I think in the first half, they were actually playing relatively better. This kind of crumbled, and then in the second half, they started off making mistakes and stuff and coming under pressure, like you have said. And even for the France game, obviously we did kind of expect France to win. I mean, it's France, but even for the first half, they were at least like providing some sort of a challenge. And then it, like we have said, in the second half when it started, again they just made a mistake that led to a goal. It's just like instant. It's crazy, like how like the moment it just becomes second half for them, they just kind of like crumble under pressure. But I this goes on to show like that in the World Cup, you just kind of have to like maintain your composure for all the time as well. Like you cannot just have a good first half and then just completely crumble under pressure. Then it would just be like all the first half will be for like you feel like it would be for nothing. And whereas for the Senegal game, yeah, I feel like for this game they were just really disappointing in the sense. So yeah,
and yeah, let's talk quickly about the France Norway game here as well. Obviously, a very highly anticipated game. between Mbappe, Holland. But since Norway had already made their qualification, they already qualified to the round of 32. They weren't really looking to finish top of the group. Hence, that's why I think they made 10 changes in the game against France. But France, on the other hand, played their main 11. I think only Saliba was missing, but the defender, his replacement defender, didn't really bad as well. It was Lacroix. I think he had a pretty good season at Crystal Palace. So yeah, it didn't really make much of a difference to them. Obviously, Dembele scored a hat trick in that game, but I think even with the Norwegian B team, I think they could have at least leveled it. I mean, if you look at the chances Strand Larson had and the players had, I think they definitely could have made it, a draw. Yeah, yeah. So what do you think of that
Yeah,
game?
yeah. I mean, like you have said, obviously they didn't even play their key players. Obviously, Haaland he didn't even play, and they also like changed like the whole like a lot of the players for the starting 11. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the score still wasn't super bad for them considering the circumstance. I mean, literally, France still played their A team exactly like you have said. Just, but yeah, I still don't think it was a disappointing game by any means. I feel like if anything, 4-1 was not that bad. But yeah, like you have said, they obviously could have done better in the sense like even the B team could have like kind of equalized and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the group stages. Um, believe we haven't really missed some really interesting games. Like we have covered them all. And if you think we missed any games that should be discussed, you can let me know.
All right. So with that, should we end it?
Yeah, let's just do some of the quick predictions of the games. I mean, obviously Brazil versus Japan is ongoing right now. I have already given mine the previous one. You can give yours onto it just been like 15 minutes into the game. But still, what do you think? Who's gonna make it through?
Oh yeah, we gotta end the podcast quick for this, bro, because I want to watch this. But yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm hyped for this game. I mean, Brazil, like I've said, like going to this World Cup, I don't expect them to be like the super top team. Like a lot of people are still kind of expect them to be. But even then, I do think they should be the favorites for this game. But like I said, Japan have been looking really strong in the previous games as well. So that's why I do actually think the game will be very close. And yeah, I think, but still, I do think that Brazil comes out top. So that's why, yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win for Brazil here.
yeah, definitely
But
understand.
I would support Japan though. Like I would rather have Japan win. Like I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, supporting the underdogs. And yeah, then move on to the third round of 32 game, being Germany versus Paraguay. So, predictions for this one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so going to this game, I feel like Paraguay, except the Turkey game, their defense has been looking quite shocking in most games. I mean, literally the other two games they have played. But obviously, we cannot forget like like the how they used to play before the this World Cup. But I do feel like in this World Cup, I would actually say they have been kind of underwhelming. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean they obviously we not been up to the the very expectations from them, but at least they qualified. I mean, many people had them finishing last in the group, but they managed to get a win against Turkey and drew against Australia. Although they lost pretty bad against the USA, but still, what matters at the end of the day is that they qualified, and now I think we will be looking at perhaps a quite different team because this is one game to prove yourself, and nobody wants to make a mistake in these games.
Yeah, right, right. So obviously, like you have said, even though I don't think Paraguay have been that strong, the fact that they have qualified through is still achievement for them. But like I've said, Germany defense it does kind of look shocking in this at times as well. But yeah, I'm still back in Germany for a win here, and I actually do think Germany will keep a clean sheet in this game as well. So I'm going for a 2-0 win for Germany.
Yeah, that's quite nice that you're like being nice to Paraguay here. I think Germany, if they as the team, I know they don't really like to show mercy to anyone, and this is the knockout stages. I think they will try to go for a big win here, something like a 4 or 5 nil. But although I'm obviously expecting Germany to win this one, but I would really love if Paraguay can hold them up.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it will be a close game rather than a
Yeah, for
complete
sure.
domination.
Now, basically, obviously, the one of the most anticipated games of the knockout stages, Holland versus Morocco. What are your predictions for this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a crazy game. And if I mean, just a rather fun fact, there's a lot of Moroccans who live in Netherlands as well, so I wonder how the atmosphere will be in that country that day. But yeah, going to this, both teams have been quite solid. I feel like Morocco, they were just, but in my opinion, I think like they were just. I still think they were their best performance was the Brazil game though. Obviously, they did be like Haiti 4-2, but I still think like the Brazil game is like where they really show their peak performance. But Netherlands, on the other hand, like obviously people do kind of rate them highly, but even then, I didn't kind of expect them to do as well as they have done right now. Even in the Japan game, I think they could have easily won if they just didn't like if the Coleman didn't make the substitutions and like shift to a back five formation. But yeah, going to this really close game, I feel like
Yeah,
there will be goals scored. So I'm actually going for a 3-2 win for Netherlands here.
dang, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I have a similar scoreline, but I have a 3-2 win for Morocco here. I think that Morocco has made some good chances, but they kind of failed to finish them at times. Look at Saibari, how good he's been for Morocco, and obviously they're coming into this tournament. If there was one thing that the Holland team was basically known for, it's basically their defense. I mean, they have Van Dijk, Van de Ven, Dumfries, uh, Timber, I believe, and yeah, their defense is basically what had the most expectations, but still they managed to concede goals. And but yeah, I think Morocco will definitely score, and so will Netherlands. Will be a competitive game, but I just think Morocco takes it in the end.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've said, I think it will be a really close game, and I'm just honestly quite excited to see how this game will turn out.
Yeah, so moving on to the final game of the 30th, Ivory Coast versus Norway. What do you think of this one?
Well, I'm just throw this out straight away. I'm actually favoring a win for Ivory Coast here. I might be crazy for that, but I've been. I mean, obviously, going through this World Cup, a lot of people have been picking them as the dark horses, which I do kind of understand. But I was kind of like in like obviously they did beat France in the friendlies, but I was kind of like curious to see how will they perform against other big teams. And obviously they did lose to Germany, but even in that game, I think they could have won if they actually finished their chances in the second half. But yeah, for Norway, I think the first game they played was against Iraq. I think didn't play that good until like the obviously Iraq crumbled. But yeah, after that, I think the other players have been stepping it up. But I do think it will be a close game. But I'm actually favoring a win for Ivory Coast here. So ooh, I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 win here for Ivory.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it definitely. I mean, we've seen Ivory Coast facing teams like Germany, Ecuador. On the other hand, Norway has. I mean, if you talk about their main team, they've only played 2 games in this World Cup. Like we haven't seen them how their main team plays against a big club like France, like a big nation. I mean, France being one of the favorites, so I don't think their main lineup has been like tested really, but Ivory Coast have been looking pretty strong. So I think that Norway's World Cup journey ends here as well. I think Ivory Coast. wins this 2-1 as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I think these games honestly are looking quite stacked. I'm just kind of looking forward to it. And obviously, right now, Brazil are playing against Japan. I really want to watch that game, so should we get in it now?
yeah, yeah, definitely. The hydration break is currently on, so yeah, let's just end this now so we can get back to the game before it ends. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you tomorrow in the next episode. Yeah, goodbye for now.